Hi guys, Elizabeth Wilson here, Studio Director of the Perth Pilates Studio and founder of Pilates Business Bootcamp. Today I want to talk to you about low-cost startup options for your new Pilates business. Now, if you're in a situation where you can go into starting your studio with a really good financial backing that allows you to, for example, take on commercial premises, commit yourself to the business on a full-time basis in that initial stage until it builds up to hitting break even, and if you're not reliant on the business to provide you with an income or a huge amount of income during that initial period when you won't necessarily be making a profit, then great, you don't need to consider these ideas. But if you are in the situation that many of us find ourselves in, wanting to start up a Pilates business without a huge amount of financial backing, these options might be really interesting things for you to consider. First up, what I would recommend is when you first start to build your business, look at doing it, if you can, on a more part-time basis initially. So if you've got a job that you can continue to work in to pay the bills and put food on the table while you do some additional hours outside of your regular work hours, and that's an excellent option to work with. In my case, when I started my studio, I was actually still working as a vet. So I did emergency medicine as a vet, and I worked night shifts. So that left me free during the day to work on building my business. For others of you who are perhaps in a more 9-to-5 type job, for example, evenings and weekends and even hours before work are the peak times that new clients want to come in for Pilates sessions typically anyway. So if you're willing to put in a bit of hard work and some long hours and long days, particularly in the initial stages, then that can really be well worth your while. The other thing that you want to think about is where you're going to run your business from. It's a huge financial commitment and associated risk involved in taking on a commercial lease, particularly when you have no existing client base to kind of give you income to service that lease. So I'd strongly recommend that you consider the option of either initially beginning with a home-based business or starting running classes in venues that don't require commitment to a long-term lease. So how does this kind of work? For my business, for example, I initially started it as a home-based studio towards the end of 2000. What we did is we moved all of our bedroom furniture out of the front master bedroom of the house and actually put it into our very open plan living area, which kind of did make the house look a bit weird. If I was someone who was very into entertaining at home, it wouldn't have been such a good plan. But the master bedroom in my case had an ensuite bathroom attached, and it basically, if you came in the front door of my house, it was immediately the first door to the left was the master bedroom, now the Pilates studio, and the ensuite bathroom attached to that. So clients didn't have to traipse all the way through my house. In that space, I basically simply had one reformer, some small barrels and some small apparatus, exercise balls, that sort of thing. And I taught either one-on-one sessions to clients, or what we do a lot of in Australia is semi-private sessions with sort of between 1 and 3 clients per instructor. So I taught semi-private sessions as well. Now, in my case, what I found was that within probably about 5 months, we'd started to outgrow the home studio because I was actively working on growing and kind of building the business. I knew that my goal was not to have a home studio long term, but to actually move into commercial premises. So when we had about 30 clients come into the home studio, that was when I took on small commercial premises initially. The other option that can work really well would be to start by building a mat-based studio initially. So this is something that one of my teacher training students who worked with me in Perth actually ended up deciding to do when she opened up her business. She found halls in a couple of different locations around Perth that she could hire at appropriate times, and she ran mat classes within those halls. But again, rather than just taking on this plan as sort of a, I'm going to run some classes in various spots around the place, it was part of her long-term, bigger strategic plan to actually go into commercial premises down the track. So she initially built a client base, teaching mat classes in local halls, and then within those local areas, she took on commercial premises and gradually expanded from doing just mat-based classes into group reformer classes and studio classes. And she, I think, built to around 6 studios in different locations around Perth very successfully from that very basic low-cost startup. Now, there are obviously some disadvantages to both of these techniques. If you're starting up from home, you need to be aware that it's very convenient being able to go straight from, being at home to work without having any travel time. But also sometimes having the separation between home and work life can get really kind of blurred. And if you have clients who don't respect the fact that you're working from home, who, for example, show up very early for sessions and then expect to sort of be able to start their session early, or who show up late, then that can sometimes be problematic. Be aware of setting firm boundaries from day one. If clients show early, how are you going to respond to that? Do you ask them to wait, or do you start a session early, for example? What are you prepared to do? Obviously, in terms of mat classes, teaching classes in halls at various locations around the space, sometimes it means you do have to do a bit of lugging around of props. You do have to allow travel time to and from your classes. And also, you want to think about the fact that it can be difficult sometimes getting halls at the peak times when your clients are going to want Pilates classes. For example, evenings and weekends are often very popular times for halls to be booked for other things anyway. Okay, so I hope those ideas helped you. Just to recap again, my suggestions, if you're needing to do a low-cost startup, would be see if you can continue working and generating some income from whatever your other job is at the moment. Think about the option of a home-based business, particularly if you're interested in more studio equipment-based teaching work. That's a great way to go. And if perhaps your strengths and interests lie a little bit more in the Pilates mat-based work, then or group-type classes, then look at the option of hiring halls and other venues where you can run classes initially. Build your client base within those initial venues, and then once you've got an existing client base, taking on the commitment of a commercial lease becomes much less scary. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please help our channel grow by clicking like and subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, post them below, and I look forward to seeing you at Pilates Business Bootcamp again very soon.